My bad. What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining. This is Noa Dalzell coming at you actually not live from the airport. Apologies for the misinformation. My flight was delayed, so I'm going to be in my room, no virtual background. So for all of those of you who complained, and so I'm just home right now, and I'll be Ubering to the airport shortly. My flight's at 7:15, so I'm going to be doing a shorter live than I did yesterday. But I'll be going back again tomorrow from Dallas from practice. And so this is an opportunity for you guys to ask any questions you might have regarding yesterday's game, quick game two recap, quick Q&A, just an opportunity to chat about what I thought was one of the most impressive wins of the season. And I realized that I have not been introducing myself. So my name is Noa Dalzell. I cover the Celtics for Celtics blog, which is a part of SB Nation, and then also for CLNS Media. So you've probably seen some of our post-game analysis and coverage. And CLNS is the best place to find all of the post-game interviews. So if you're just seeing the kind of examples of things, of Jrue Holiday's clips or Tatum, or you're seeing things on Twitter and you want the full clips, you can see those on CLNS Media. And so in any case, I'm coming at you live from my room, not from the airport just yet. I just didn't want to get to the airport 3 hours early, and this was already scheduled for 5 o'clock. So we will be heading to Dallas tonight, and then we'll be there all week. And maybe we won't even be back at TD Garden this week. Who knows? When I was leaving TD Garden last night, I was thinking this could be the last time this season. I don't necessarily think so. I would predict that the Celtics don't win both of the games in Dallas. And I've been pretty good at predictions for those of you who are paying attention. But yeah, I do think that it could go in a couple different directions here. And the Celtics certainly impressed me in last night's game. And the thing that I'll just say about last night's game is that it really stood out to me that the team was struggling to shoot 25% from three, a lot of defensive mistakes, a lot of breakdowns, but they just played harder and they made enough plays to win. And I thought Jaylen Brown kind of put it nicely at the end of the game. He said, we just played with more effort than the Mavericks. And with the amount of talent that this team has, if they play with more effort, they're generally going to be in good shape. And so those are kind of my initial thoughts on last night's game. Obviously, Jrue Holiday had an incredible game. He's just stepped up so many times during this postseason. It's been quite remarkable, I would say, the offensive production that we really didn't see much of during the regular season, nothing at this level. And he credited all of his offensive success to Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown for all the pressure that they put on the defense and then their ability to facilitate. And so certainly I think you saw him as kind of an outlet for them. And I actually loved the game that Jayson Tatum played last night from just a management standpoint. Obviously, you'd like to see him not go 6 for 22. But I did appreciate the fact that once he realized he didn't have a shot going, he started to really look for Derek White, for Jrue Holiday, getting other guys involved. And if you're on a certain team where you don't have guys that can step up and hit shots, like Dallas's role players did not step up last night. So if you're Luka, maybe you don't have the luxury that Jayson Tatum has to find those players. But Tatum's finding all-stars around him. That's kind of who he has. And so he made the right play time after time. I thought Jaylen Brown played another really good game, had some turnovers, but other than that was effective. And I thought his defense and Kyrie was really good. Defense in general has just been just awesome, I would say, in these last few games. Obviously, game one was better than last night, but even so, I think when they needed to, they really stepped up and really performed. And so, I was really encouraged by the game. I think that I had Celtics in 6 originally. Maybe I make that Celtics in 5 now, just seeing how these first 2 games they've looked so dominant. And really, I think they're not even playing their best necessarily. Like Tatum obviously is really, really struggling. He was kind of talking about that post game that he's not worried about it, but obviously, I think right now winning is the most important thing, but obviously you'd like to see him hit more shots and finish at the rim and hit his open threes. And he's looked at kind of out of sorts as far as just the shot goes for a while now. So those are my thoughts. I'm seeing some questions about Porzingis. Obviously, that's going to be front of mind for everybody just because he did hobble off the court yesterday. No idea of what actually the injury is. I don't think anybody has that information right now, or maybe someone does, but it's not available to media at this point. He said last night he'll die out there. He'll make sure that he's able to play in game 3. Joe Mazzulla was asked, one of the first questions he was asked in his presser is, are you concerned about Porzingis? And he said, 0 concern. He'll be fine. I don't know that he should be saying that. Like, I don't know if he knew enough to even know to say zero concern, we'll be fine, but it was definitely a good sign that he didn't say, we'll see, I'm not sure. Like, he's in the past, usually he's like, I have no idea, that sort of thing. So I don't take Mazzulla's word for, he's not the gospel when it comes to injuries, because I don't even know how much conversations he had with the medical staff. But Porzingis stayed on the bench. He didn't go to the locker room. He was doing like some stretching, some work done. He did say he'll do some imaging. We don't even know what body part it is. I think it's a calf, but not the calf that he was out for. It's the other leg, it appears. So a lot of ambiguity right now. I can't really specify much more than that. But the fact that he was able to stay in, not a bad sign. Above his injury status, though, I think the more important thing is that they should be able to win without him. And it sucks. I really, really hope that this is not the end for him, because I think that would really suck for after the whole rehab to come back, play 2 games, and then be out for the rest of the finals. Like, I hope that's not the outcome here. But just from like a Celtics standpoint, I think they have enough to get this done. Up 2-0, 85% chance to win a series when you're up 2-0 in the finals. This should not be a reason to not win the championship because he's out. But again, I don't think he'll be out. I think he'll be available, and obviously we'll share. You guys will see everywhere updates when he's available around his injury status. And obviously he traveled with Dallas. I mean, he would travel with Dallas even if he wasn't playing, but he's obviously going to be there with the team. And I will also be traveling with Dallas. My flight got canceled, but then they rebooked me tonight, which I was grateful for, because there is a media availability tomorrow. And the media availabilities are so cool during the finals, because normally you go to a media availability and it's practice, and you go to practice and you see 10 minutes of practice and you talk to 1 or 2 players and the coach, and it's very quick and there's a bunch of people kind of crammed around them. But right now, for the finals, it's completely different. There's pressers, there's like all the players are available. They're kind of walking around. So from a reporting standpoint, like, it's really, really valuable, because you can go around and ask anybody questions. If you guys haven't checked out, Jack Simone had a great story about how they've been guarding Luka, and how they've been prepping to guard Luka. And one of the ways that they've been doing that is by having Svi Mykhailiuk play Luka in practice and like do all the actions as though he's Luka. And Jack got that whole story at me today, because he was walking around like talking to people. The kind of reporting you wouldn't be able to do in a normal practice, but in finals media week you can, because there's like a million reporters there and they kind of change the tune. So anyways, I will be there tomorrow. I'll have updates. I haven't scheduled a time yet, but I'll go live from media day tomorrow. And then we'll be obviously live pregame before game 3. And game 3 is going to be huge, because if they win game 3 up 3-0, nobody has ever lost a playoff series, right? So again, that's a huge game. Svi is, yes, Kirkland, Luka, that's pretty funny. Svi is obviously a really good basketball player, so he can, in the scheme of things, he can do a lot. And so I think Xavier Tillman told Jack, you guys can read a story on Celtics blog. He told Jack, though, that Svi is actually like so good, and so he's been a good fit for that role. So okay, I'm gonna start looking for some of these comments and pinning them. Yeah, I see someone said, okay, it's okay. KP said he'll die on the court. Yep, he really made clear that he is going to do everything he can to play. How do I know it's not the calf that Porzingis has previously injured? He was asked if the injury is related. He said no. I also think the clips of videos of him on the sideline showed that it was his other leg. So while I can't, I wasn't involved in those conversations, I trust the fact that he said that, and then the clips on TV that he was stretching was his other leg. Again, it could probably be related, like overcompensating or whatever. All these things are connected, but I don't think I think it might have just happened anyways. I will say, like, just the way his body is, and the guys that he's going up against being so much stronger than him, like, I get why he's injury prone. It's like watching him play, it's like you're holding your breath the whole time. So I don't know if it's something that he can avoid. He did stay relatively healthy during the season. Like, he only had a couple of relatively minor things, but it would really suck if this was something that kept him out for a while now. Let's see. KD's defense has been elite. I think his defense has been awesome. I don't think he should change anything. The Kornet contest is a good play. Like, obviously there's a reason why Kornet does it. But I will say, I think that it puts you out of position sometimes to rebound. Like, that's what some of the criticism of the Kornet contest is because you're jumping up and then you're not necessarily in position to grab the board. But hey, it works for Luke. I have to say, I see people doing it like in the park now, like little kids like jumping up. So he's established some culture. Someone here says Luka got obliterated last night. He turned the ball over so many times when he wasn't scoring. I thought that Luka played he did a lot of good things for the Mavericks. Obviously, 30-point triple double, looked better than he did in game one as from a facilitating standpoint. But I do think his stats and his box score were better than what he looked like in real life. Like, if that makes sense. Like, I think that there was this feeling of he had some really, really bad turnovers, like terrible timing turnovers. I thought that Jrue Holiday and Derek White and particularly Jaylen Brown did a good job on him, despite the fact he still put up numbers. And then, yeah, defensively, man, I tweeted in game one, like, I'm positively surprised by Luka's defense. And I feel like since then, he's like only made bad defensive plays. It's like my worst take that I've tweeted. He really struggled, like, to keep up with anybody. Some of it, especially on a rewatch, like, I haven't rewatched the whole game yet, but watching just various clips, like, oof, like it was tough to watch. And he was hunting Tatum too at points, which I don't know if that was like more of a mind thing or if he actually views Tatum as one of the less good defenders on the court, which is also possible because, again, you have like three all defense defenders, most likely. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Luka. I think Luka is not the reason why the Mavericks are down 0-2. I think it's probably everybody else outside of him. But yeah, defensively, and then the turnovers was not helping his case last night. There isn't any reason why this shouldn't be a sweep. I kind of feel that, like, my intuition is like, you're probably right, Paul. But I also want to give the Mavs some credit, and I also think that it's really hard to only lose 2 games in an entire postseason run, and that's what this was going to entail. But if they did do it, I wouldn't be shocked. I think they're showing you right now that they're really serious about, like, all of this. So who knows? Okay, yeah, I'm definitely going to acknowledge this Peyton Pritchard 3 because I think some of you know that follow me, that have read my writing and stuff. I think Peyton Pritchard is, like, just an awesome player. I once tweeted out, I think he has all-star potential, and it went viral on Miami Heat Twitter, and everybody started, like, bullying me about it, saying that it was the worst take ever. I still stand by that. Potential doesn't mean that he's an all-star right now, but right now he did make one of the biggest plays in the finals, and that was with 3 seconds to go, he checked in, went full court, kind of what he's known for. He's known for these really quick, fast breaks, and he sprinted up the court and hit a 34-foot three-point heave. And that was huge because the Mavs were on a 7-0 run at the time. And so it kind of stopped the bleeding. It was a 13-point lead that went down to 6 that I think he pushed back up to 9. So it put them in a really good spot from a momentum standpoint. And then obviously just his celebration, the way he went up to every single player. He's an electric player, like just how he really plays it with emotion, the way he gets everybody involved. He had played 8 minutes in the game to that point. He had not yet scored in the finals, so he was like 0 for 8, I believe, from the field. And then he hits that one. And Joe Mazzulla was asked about something completely different before the game, right as the beginning of his presser. He was asked about Tatum's playmaking, which was a very valid thing to ask about. And he said the first question should have been about Pritchard's three-pointer, because Pritchard, that shot was the play of the game, and talked about his unselfishness and how his selflessness and how sometimes, guys don't want to take those kinds of shots, and Pritchard has been taking them all year, just because they don't want to reduce their three-point percentage, right? So he definitely does not care about his percentage, especially in the finals. But he was asked about this in May, because in May he also hit one of those heaves. I forget against who, but he was asked about it, and he said, it's a basketball play. You got to make that play. Like, it's a no-brainer. So I thought that was an awesome play. Afterwards, Jaylen Brown said, I heard he checked himself in, which I don't know if that's true. I don't know if why Jaylen Brown said that, if it's not true, but he said, apparently it wasn't Joe that put Pritchard in. It was Pritchard that said, I'm going in with 3 seconds to go at the end of the third, and I'm going to hit a shot here, which is a pretty epic story if that's the case. So I don't know what the truth is. Joe said he put him in. I wrote my article for Celtics blog about that, which at the time felt like I was pushing an agenda because I wanted to write about that. But then Joe said it was the story of the night, so I was vindicated. Favorite Celtics to interview? I've answered this question a couple of times, but I'll just say probably Xavier Tillman or Derek White. They're just both very down to earth, very nice. Xavier Tillman, he just when I see him, I want to talk to him because he's just very friendly. And I've had some really nice conversations with him. And then Derek White, just from an interview standpoint, I think he just doesn't behave like an NBA star. He just behaves like a regular person that just happens to be at the podium. So he's really cool. I'm sure if you guys watch the post-game pressers, you can get your own take on different personalities, and everybody has a different vibe out there. But yeah, Derek certainly is one of my favorites, at least, to speak with. So Ben asked, how surprised are you with how well Pritchard's defense has held up? I'm not surprised. I'm one of the biggest Pritchard believers out there. I think he's not a liability. Obviously, size, sometimes you can't make that up, but that's everybody, right? Sometimes Derek White gets hunted for his size. So I think he held up phenomenally well last night. He held up against Luka. He had a play against Kyrie. He had a play when he was on Derek Lively and he kind of stripped the ball or stopped Derek Lively, which just should never happen given their side disparity. And then offensive rebound, like he just makes winning plays. That's why you have him on the court. That's why you sign him to an extension despite the fact he didn't play last year. So yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I have a little bit of a lag. I'm trying to click on these. Yeah, the pressure I think is definitely more on Dallas, but this is also a really hungry team. And it's a team that is super aware of the fact that this is their chance to win a championship. And I'm really excited about the fact that you could see that they're not messing around and they're not going to like punt opportunities. So I think they're not going into this feeling relaxed. Every game that they've won this postseason, there's been an energy of like, we're not done. And last night, exactly the same. Someone said, tell us about the bunny. Was my bunny viewable? Could you see her in the screen? I didn't realize. She is behind me, but yeah, I have a free roaming bunny that runs around my room. Softie. I've probably posted her on Twitter once or twice before. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna wrap this up in like a few minutes just because I don't want to be late to my flight. And I don't know how long the airport's gonna be, but I'll just do a few more questions. Yes, this is true. Culk is keeping up. When the Celtics travel, do they do any practice or group film sessions the same day? I'm honestly not sure. It's listed as a travel day for us as far as the media goes. I think they might. I think they generally don't practice. They might do some film. I would imagine right now they probably just took the day off though. Okay. Kenny asked, KP is a player everyone was surprised how well he did in his first NBA Finals. Is there an NBA player you would think would stand out of the finals compared to the regular season? I think most good players are going to be fine in the finals if they're not being game planned to stop them. Like, I think part of why Tatum struggled is because the game plan centers around disrupting him. And that's why he's struggling offensively, or at least like shooting wise. KP, they didn't seem to game plan for him in game one. Like he checked in and they looked like surprised by it, which I don't know why they would be because obviously they knew that he was going to be available. But yeah, I think there's plenty of great NBA players that would meet the moment. And Jrue Holiday obviously is one that he has a reputation of being a playoff dropper. Like we're not seeing that right now. I think a lot of it just depends on the situation. If you're coming in as the number one option, if you're like Mikal Bridges and you're in the NBA Finals as the fourth option, I think you'll do great, and you're not the one that teams are game planning for and obsessed with, right? But then obviously if you're the one that is the priority on defense, there's a much more limited field of players that are going to be able to handle that. In fact, a lot of stars have very poor finals numbers if you go back in history and look at it because teams don't want to lose to LeBron or they don't want to lose to Curry, right? So they try to make their life difficult if they can. Let's see. A couple people asked if I'm going to the game. Yes, I am. I see a question from my dad. Would I prefer the Celtics prefer to win it in 5? It would be cool for them to win at home. I think that's like a special memory, but I'll be there. I'm going to root for them to win each of these games because you just never know, right? You never know. It's a 5-game series, and then they lose game 5. They're back in Dallas. You never know what could happen. I think Kyrie, the fact that he was part of the 3-1 comeback, in 2016, it does give them a little bit more confidence that he's been down 0-2 before, and he really struggled in those first 2 games in 2016. So this is an opportunity for him to come back and tell his teammates, like, I've been here before. This is nothing I'm not used to, etc. So to me, that is something that is on my mind as they're in this lead. And then conversely, Jrue Holiday has been down 0-2 in the finals and made that comeback. So you have 2 guys that have been there, done that. Nobody's thinking the series is over. That's just my perspective. What has been better in your opinion, Jaylen's defense or Tatum's playmaking? It's hard to compare. They've both been great, honestly. They've both been like such a leap from previous years too. I don't know. Honestly, if anything, I would want Tatum to play make even more. Like he still took 22 shots last night. He probably didn't need to take 22 shots last night. Maybe he should have taken like 17 and made 5 more passes. But it's hard to complain when he had 12 assists and he was really feeding guys as effectively as he was. And Jaylen's defense, it's been so fun to watch, especially like just on the ball, making like Kyrie's life miserable. I posted a clip that went pretty viral of like him guarding Kyrie and just hounding him, and Kyrie ended up traveling, and it was pretty cool to watch just how much he's evolved in that space. I'm gonna skip some of these because I'm a few minutes late. I saw Isaiah said that. NBA players love Kyrie though. Like they all say he's like the greatest player ever. He's so talented. I think it's just the way that he plays is just he's a very popular decision for them. Um, yeah, I noticed that's a very common answer. So it's not. I don't think it's Isaiah Thomas personally. Hauser's shooting slump, I don't think there's much to attribute it to besides for the fact that he's in one, and clearly he's a little rattled by it, and we've seen a lot of players be in one, and luckily they can afford that because other guys are stepping up. And that's been the key to this team. I've said it a million times. You can afford having like 3 guys in a slump and they'll still win. It just can't be like all 6 of them. And right now it's Tatum and it's Hauser that have lost their shot a little bit. But Jrue Holiday's shooting well. Al's been good. Derek's been good. Peyton Pritchard's been shooting 40% from the postseason from 3. So you got enough going on that's playing in your favor. Just not to be pessimistic, it would be one of the biggest letdowns if the Celtics lost the series. Absolutely. So let me take that energy away. I'm gonna unpin that comment. Okay, I love this comment by Jason Avery about I hate how the mainstream sports media is saying Kyrie isn't showing up rather than giving the Celtics credit for shutting him down. This is something you could apply to literally all NBA and sports coverage. That 90% of the focus is about who's not playing well, and 10% is about who is playing well. Like I don't know, I've not been in this business for a long time. I don't know about the ratings game and if there's like something I'm missing, but he's being guarded very effectively the same way that we've seen throughout the years. Like, people didn't want to give Miami credit last year. They wanted to say the Celtics collapse, whereas Miami puts this strung together like an incredible Eastern Conference Finals, right? Like, it just seems to be the case. And a perfect example of that was the Celtics and the Pacers, where the Celtics had, that game, I think it was game 2, that Jaylen Brown, game 1 it was, versus the Pacers, that Jaylen Brown deflected the ball, hit the corner 3, made the 3, went into overtime, Celtics win. Such an electric game. And then rather than people praising the Celtics after that game for pulling out this incredible victory in the Eastern Conference Finals, it was like Pacers choked. It's like, I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's some psychological element that I don't get, that I don't relate with. But there's a lot being done to Kyrie that is impacting him. It's not just that he forgot how to play basketball. And he didn't forget how to play basketball, but I think we should be talking about the defensive adjustments and the execution and the kind of like commitment to the game plan the Celtics have had, that no matter how many times people make shots or Luka hit a shot over Peyton Pritchard or whatever it is, like they're not freaking out. They're not blitzing. They're really sticking with what was working from the jump. And I like the fact that they're sticking with it. And obviously it will change if they have to, but yeah, I totally agree with this. Okay. I'm about to wrap this up because I'm a little bit anxious about missing this flight. And you never know with the traffic at this hour how things could go. That's my mic. Okay, I'm just gonna answer like 2 more questions. Who would your finals MVP pick be 2 games in? I've been thinking about this. I know it doesn't really matter. So I don't know why. I just think this stuff is interesting because like someone has to get it and something to talk about or think about at this point. Um, the 3 candidates I think are Jaylen, Jayson, and Jrue, just as far as the load that they've carried. I would lean Jrue right now. It's obviously 2 games in. I don't think he's going to put together enough games for him to be the finals MVP, but last night I thought defensively and offensively he was huge. He kind of played the perfect basketball game. 11 of 14 from the field, 0 turnovers, led them in rebounding, was just like awesome. And then Jaylen was the best player in game 1, but I think overall I give the edge to Jrue still. Those would be my picks. Before I log off here, I'm going to say, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's Noa Dalzell NBA. Same as my Twitter handle. If you don't follow me, feel free to give me a follow there, Noa Dalzell NBA. I'm going to be going live every single day. Most days I'll go a little bit longer than this. But I am I'm just a little bit worried about missing my flight, so I'm going to get going soon. Bunch of questions about Porzingis. I touched on this earlier. Mazzulla said that he is fine. He said he had 0 concern. Porzingis said, obviously there's something that I'm feeling, but I'll die out there. So he basically said everybody will be there. Everybody, he'll make sure to be there. He'll make sure to be available. I think he'll be there. The question is to see who he was in games 1 and 2. TBD, unclear. Really appreciate everybody for tuning in. I see there's 50 people on, so that's awesome. I see most of you are watching on Twitter. Feel free to join on YouTube next time on my YouTube channel or on CLNS's so you can participate in the comments. And apologies for not being able to get through all of these questions. Feel free to also leave. You can comment on the YouTube later, and I can answer on the YouTube comments. I'll be on a flight with Wi-Fi, so I'll be happy to answer. Cool. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a good one.